The MotoGP paddock is no stranger to pressure, but what happens when that pressure begins to fracture even the most dominant of champions? As the 2026 season unfolds, a storm is quietly building inside Ducati, and the warning signs are impossible to ignore. Two-time world champion Francesco Bagnaia, once the benchmark of consistency and control, now finds himself adrift, scrambling for answers and, more worryingly, results. And then comes the revelation. A voice of authority, a legend of the sport, steps in. Mick Doohan has lifted the curtain on what may be a deeper issue, one that goes beyond performance and into the very core of Ducati's internal balance. Bagnaia's start to the 2026 campaign has been nothing short of alarming. After dominating the grid en route to back-to-back titles in 2022 and 2023, the Italian now sits ninth in the standings with just 25 points after 3 rounds, not a single finish inside the top 8. From a P9 in Thailand after starting 13th to a crash in Brazil and a disappointing P10 at the Circuit of the Americas, this is not the Bagnaia the paddock has come to expect. At COTA, his struggles were laid bare. Severe rear tyre degradation forced him into survival mode early in the race. The rhythm was gone, the confidence shaken, and the front-running pace completely out of reach. Doohan, never one to speak lightly, admitted even he was puzzled by the sudden drop. But his analysis points to 2 potential causes, both equally significant. First, the machinery. Ducati's evolution from the GP25 to the GP26 appears to have shifted the bike's characteristics. For a rider like Bagnaia, whose strengths lie in precise braking and smooth corner entry, any imbalance in those areas can be catastrophic. Second, and perhaps more intriguingly, is the arrival of Marquez. Since joining Ducati Lenovo team in 2025, Marquez has done what Marquez does best: win, adapt, and dominate. His immediate competitiveness has not only elevated Ducati's title hopes, but also altered the internal hierarchy. For years, Bagnaia was the undisputed reference point. Now he shares the garage with an 8-time world champion who thrives under pressure and reshapes teams around him. Doohan suggests this dynamic could be having a subtle yet powerful impact. Not necessarily conflict, but tension, expectation, a shift in focus. In elite sport, marginal changes in confidence or clarity can translate into massive performance gaps. And right now, Bagnaia appears to be caught in that grey area, no longer fully in control, yet not entirely out of contention. Beyond the psychological layer, the technical issues are undeniable. Bagnaia himself has pointed to braking instability and reduced corner entry speed, 2 pillars of his riding style, as ongoing problems. These are not minor inconveniences. In modern MotoGP, where tenths of a second define races, losing confidence on the brakes can unravel an entire weekend. What's more concerning is the consistency of the issue. From 2025 into 2026, the pattern hasn't changed. The bike isn't fully responding to his inputs, and the solutions remain elusive. So is this a crisis, or simply a phase? History suggests champions of Bagnaia's caliber don't fade quietly, but MotoGP in 2026 is arguably more competitive than ever, and Ducati's own strength may paradoxically be working against him. Marquez's presence raises the bar internally. The evolving bike demands adaptation, and the margin for error virtually zero. If Bagnaia can realign with the bike, rediscover that braking confidence and corner entry flow, this narrative could flip rapidly. But if the current trend continues, Ducati may face a difficult reality, their former leader being overshadowed in his own garage. One thing is certain, under the spotlight of MotoGP, there is no hiding. And right now, all eyes are on Bagnaia. The situation becomes even more complex when examining Ducati's development philosophy over the past 2 seasons. The Desmosedici has evolved into a machine that rewards aggressive inputs and late braking stability under extreme load, traits that naturally align with Marc Marquez's instinctive riding style. This raises a critical question: has the bike's evolution unintentionally moved away from Francesco Bagnaia's comfort zone? In previous championship-winning campaigns, Bagnaia's strength lay in his ability to control races from the front, managing tyre wear while maintaining a surgical level of precision through corner entry. Now that advantage appears diminished. Rivals are able to attack more aggressively, while Bagnaia is often forced into defensive riding, an unfamiliar and uncomfortable position for the Italian. There is also the strategic layer within Ducati Lenovo team to consider. With 2 elite riders capable of fighting for the title, the team must walk a fine line between equal support and natural prioritization. Even the slightest perception of imbalance, be it in setup direction, data sharing, or race strategy, can influence a rider's mindset at this level. Former champions, including Mick Doohan, understand how fragile that balance can be. Internal competition can sharpen performance, but it can just as easily create fractures if results begin to favour one side of the garage consistently. At present, momentum appears to be leaning towards Marquez, and that narrative only adds to the pressure on Bagnaia. Another key factor is the mental reset required after repeated, underwhelming results. In MotoGP, confidence is everything. A single strong weekend can reignite a season, but a string of difficult races can quickly spiral into self-doubt. Bagnaia now faces the challenge of rebuilding that confidence while under constant scrutiny from media, fans, and his own team. Looking ahead, the upcoming European rounds could prove decisive. Circuits that traditionally suit Bagnaia's flowing style may offer him an opportunity to reconnect with the bike. If improvements are to come, they must begin there, on tracks where he has historically excelled and felt most comfortable pushing to the limit. However, the competition is not standing still. The grid in 2026 is deeper than ever, with multiple manufacturers closing the performance gap. This means Bagnaia cannot rely solely on past strengths. Adaptation is no longer optional, it is essential. There is also the broader championship picture to consider. Falling behind early in the season forces riders into a more aggressive points recovery approach, often increasing risk. For Bagnaia, this creates a delicate balancing act between regaining lost ground and avoiding further costly mistakes. Ultimately, the coming races will define whether this period is remembered as a temporary dip or the beginning of a more significant shift within Ducati. For now, the paddock watches closely as one of MotoGP's brightest talents searches for answers, while the shadow of his teammate grows ever larger.